and you were listening to Season 6 of the award-winning Christian Outdoors Podcast with your host, Pete Rogers. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Christian Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Rogers. And today we have with us here on the show the founder of Hollerback Game Calls, Mr. Blake Lawson. And Blake began making calls in 2016 as a hobby. And then he turned that hobby into a business in 2018 with a focus on quality over quantity. From the mountains of Southwest Virginia in the little town of Duffield, Virginia, all of his calls are handmade by Blake himself. Even though he makes calls full time, they are also an integral part of his ministry work. Blake is also involved with a kids group based out of Georgia that he loves dearly. His turkey calls are now found in 42 states, and he attends some of the biggest trade shows of the year where he can share his passion for his turkey calls and his faith. Please welcome to Christian Outdoors Podcast, Mr. Blake Lawson. Blake, thank you for joining me, buddy.
I'm good to be here. Glad to be here.
I appreciate that. I've heard a lot about Hollerback, and I've had people for a couple of years say, you need to get Blake on the show. Blake is a really good dude, and you need to get him on the show. I've had a lot of people tell me that. And, you know, you're busy, and I'm busy, and everybody's busy nowadays. That's our catchphrase in the modern America, isn't it, Blake?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's nonstop all the time.
Yep. And I've had many guests that I've had to work months in order to get them on the show to find time in their schedule. But thank you for squeezing time today. Kick off the show by telling the audience about yourself.
Well, I'm Blake Lawson. Like you said, I am the owner and operator of Hollerback Game Calls. I have a small daughter. She's 2. I'm married. I live in Duffield, Virginia, which is a dot on a map. You blink and you pass through the red light. You've missed the whole town. So real small, pretty, tucked in the middle of the mountains. It's quiet and peaceful. I enjoy hunting everything that you can possibly hunt if I'm able to get out. But this business right here is, you know, the busy part of my year is during my favorite part of the year is hunting season. So I don't get to do a whole lot of stuff like that. But yeah, our turkey calls, we got those in 42 states right now. We're continuing to grow little by little every year. We've been introducing a lot of new stuff, new products. And we hope to continue to keep doing that and just providing the best stuff that we possibly can.
And you make all the calls yourself, huh?
I do. There's a lot of work that goes into them. They're hand turned on a lathe. I really go through every single little detail. I got quality checks all through as I'm turning, even from when the board comes in. So I start with a full board. Yeah, if I don't get it right through my quality checks, I take them and I burn them and I start over. Even if I get one completely finished out and it cost me $250 to actually acquire all that wood, like a really, really expensive call, and had it shipped in from overseas or something like that, and it doesn't match like the sound that I'm looking for in a call and quality, I take it, I burn it. It hurts my feelings and it breaks my heart, but I can only have the right things leave the shop. I can't have mediocre.
So, wow, that's hard to burn a $250 call, isn't it?
It is. It is. It breaks your heart sometimes.
Well, I'm curious because for those who don't know about woodworking at all, wood turning is an art, and it can take years to master how to turn wood on a lathe. Mm-hmm. And so, is this something that you were doing before, or did you have to completely learn how to wood turn when you started making your calls?
I was self-taught. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, sure, why not? I can see if I can figure this out. And how hard can it be? My gosh, it's hard.
It's freaking hard. If you've never tried to turn on a lathe, it's hard. It's a lot harder than they make it look.
Yeah. And I've just refined my skills over the years. But when I first started, it was multiple days of where I just pick up the piece of wood, chuck it across the floor, and just walk out and be aggravated. So
yeah. I'd hate to know how much money you lost in wood trying to learn how to turn.
Quite a few, quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a few. And so you turn your trumpets and you turn your pot calls, correct?
Yes. We turn the trumpets, we turn pot calls, our owl hooters, duck calls, crow calls, elk bleat calls, raccoon squallers, what else? Deer grunt calls. We turn everything.
I cannot imagine the volume you have to do to keep up with demand, because I'm sitting here thinking about doing this by yourself. That's what I'm thinking about, because I've been an entrepreneur a lot myself and one man show. I know how much work goes in, and we're just talking about one aspect of the work, the wood turning. We're not talking about getting the wood in and making sure it has the right humidity in the wood, or there's a word for it that's not coming to mind here.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Your grain structure has to be a certain way. You have to look for all kinds of different things.
Doing all that, and then you turn it,
Mm-hmm.
and how much time that takes. And then you do all your quality checks, and you got to assemble it, and you got to package it, and you got to do that 20,000 times. I'm thinking, good gosh, how in the world does one man do that?
No sleep, a lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee, a lot of nicotine. Caffeine and nicotine has kept a lot of entrepreneurs going, hasn't it?
Definitely.
It has. So, okay. Struggling with the word here. So you got deer grunts, waterfowl calls, crow calls, raccoon squallers, pot calls, and trumpets that you all turn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not, you don't order it already turned and then you just assemble it and put it in a package and go. You start with a block of wood and got to go from there.
Yeah.
That is an enormous amount of volume.
It is. It takes a lot of work. Every now and then I'll find a good quality dowel that's the right size, and I'll get them. That just takes one step out of it.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of the stuff comes in as boards, especially like your pot calls. I've got 2 people I source that through. I'll go to their wood shops. One of them, he knows exactly what I like, my size, what type of woods I like to use. And he'll call me and say, hey, I got this in. Everything's the right size, everything that you're looking for. And I think the grain structure's right. Just swing by when you get a chance. He'll be sitting here. And then I've actually got a guy in Indonesia that has the real high end exotic woods. Google Translate is awesome. We talk.
Shout out to Google for translating for each other. But there again, man, because for somebody who hasn't seen I'm gonna pull it up on this side of the web of my computers here, your turkey calls and strikers. It's not just a flat piece of wood. It's tapered and then detailed, and you got these different shapes on the bottom of the pot calls. You got to put the holes in the right places, make the hole on top for the surface. I mean, there's a lot of detail in that. Same thing with your trumpet calls. Those are beautiful, I just love your trumpet calls. Now, the strikers, are you turning those also?
I do. And I also, if I need help, I've got somebody I can do that with. But I mean, 99% of the stuff is me. I'm amazed. I really am, just because of the volume that you're talking about, that you're cranking out. That's unbelievable. Box calls. So you don't turn those, you cut them and then you assemble them. 1 piece, 2 piece. I started out making 1 pieces, and that's what I prefer to make. Mm-hmm. I think it's a more craftsmanship look, and I like the vibrations in a 1 piece call better than a glued together call. Yeah. But you've got to have certain price ranges for all people, not just one select. So I would prefer to have the solid bodies, and those take them, I run them out on a table saw out of a solid block, get all the tapers right. Then I drill it out on the inside. Then I take a wood chisel and I shave and I shave and I shave and I shave and I shave, and then sandpaper and hand shape it. And then, do it a disc sander and get the whole outside body lip and all that shaped in the fronts of it. And then I do it old school, I guess, on the lids too. And I run those on a table saw, and then I got a disc sander I'll put up on the table, and I sit there with a piece of wood and I'll rock it back and forth and shape it, and then take hand sanding and shape everything down like that too.
We said this before we started recording. I prefer friction calls and trumpets. That's what I prefer. And I'm looking at some of your box calls now. As a hunter, do you prefer a one-sided call or a two-sided call?
Two, because I like two different tones.
Same.
So,
Same. I've never had as much luck with a one-sided box call as I have with two. And like you said, it gives you more options.
Yeah, you don't want them to match exactly, because if you have the same sound bird on each side, then I mean it's just another box call. But if you can have two tones, then you got more variations and ample opportunity to get that bird to hammer.
Yeah. Yeah, your chestnut long box is really pretty too, by the way.
Thank you.
If you can find a chestnut long box, for those of you guys that are out there hunting, that is one of the best locator calls you can have. Something about the chestnut wood and that long box, it just reaches out there and touches them. That's a really good call to keep in your arsenal. Now we've talked about this, but we haven't got into, for the listener to find out, why did you start making turkey calls?
I guess kind of like a lot of people, I got tired of buying crap. So you would go, to a store and you could buy one call. It sounded awesome. You go back and buy that same call because it wouldn't last and it wouldn't sound anything like the same. I got to one point, I worked my summer, tobacco, hay, all that. And I was like, man, I've got $85. I'm going to go get me a really nice turkey call. And I went to buy, I went to a big old chain store and all that. And I found one. It was $85 after taxes and everything. And I was like, my gosh, I said, I'm in there now. I've hit it. I've got a good quality call. I used it one time and then it sounded like crap and I never could fix it. And I said, I'm sick of this. I can figure it out myself. I will learn to do this.
Was it a pot call, box call? What kind of call was it?
It was a pot call.
It was a pot call. Okay. All right. Yeah. It's funny because my very first turkey call is a ML Lynch double-sided world champion box call. Right. Paid $15 for it back in 1978. And I still use it. It's a great call.
Yeah.
Right? But the point of saying is what you said, price oftentimes does not dictate how good of a call it is.
No, it does not.
I mean, I've had that call for 40 something years and I still kill turkeys with it.
Yep.
I paid $15 for it, which in 1978, that would probably be equivalent to about $45 now, maybe 50. Yeah. So it's a lot of money for a kid.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
But you can pay $400 for a call and have kindling.
Definitely.
Right. Pretty much. Or you can pay $15 or $40 for a call and have something that'll you can hand down to your children.
Definitely.
Right. So you had that experience with that pot call. Did you try to modify it or did you just start from scratch and try to make one from scratch?
I tried to clean it and I thought it got wet and I tried to do all kinds of different things. And I was like, man, none of this is working. It's just, I don't know what it is. Something ain't right.
Well,
and
all right, I got to interrupt you again. Excuse me. And that is because a pot call can have a lot of different, was it aluminum, glass, slate, copper? What was it?
It was a purple slate.
Purple slate. Okay.
Yeah. Purple slate. So I didn't know how to get into making that. And so one of the things that I started with was a box call to try to get all the basics and functions of what and kind of hone in on new skills that I had never done before. So, cause my first box call I made, I had it in a vise and it was a 2x4 and it was a flat piece of pine that I had got and I beat it out with a 4-pound hammer and a chisel and shaped it like that. So, I mean, it sounded horrible, but I was like, sweet, I can do this. And it just kind of went on and went on. And I met more call makers down the road. The ones that kind of pointed me, I had kind of guidance and they said, here is a general start, refine it, figure it out, and you'll learn it as you play with it on the lathe of what you need to do. So Alan Six of Greeners Runs Calls, he was one of the main guys, and Michael Braswell. And I think he's down in Mississippi. And his was Muddy Bottoms, I think is what it was called. And they kind of gave me just an idea, said, well, start with this size blank and then just try to match the surface to it and drill it out a little bit and just play from there, and you'll figure it out. So they kind of gave me the initiative to start. And that's whenever 2018, those came into play. And it was a lot of work. My first one, I got it sitting up on a shelf. It looks like crap, just like all my first.
But it's a motivator, right? And it's also something to look at. Look where all this hard work has got me. I started with that, and this is where I am.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's in the creative world, whether you're a podcaster, call maker, writer, I go back and look at the first stories I ever tried to submit to magazines. And I thought, oh my gosh, how did anybody ever buy that? It's horrific, and I go listen to the first episodes of my show and think, oh my gosh, we get better as we go.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And that's where that persistence that God gives us and that desire to continue to improve.
Yeah.
As I had a guy on the show a couple of years ago, Gerald Swindell, fisherman, and he made this statement. So I'm giving him credit, so people don't think I'm saying it. When he said, "People ask me how did I get to where I am," and I tell them, "I wanted it more than you did." And I thought, what a great answer! It sounds a little sarcastic, but it's so true.
Yeah,
if you want it bad enough, then you spend time in the wood shop and you keep trying and you keep trying and you keep trying until you get to where you want to be. Right.
Yeah, definitely. And the biggest thing is also as a wood turner of game calls is not copying. You have to come up with your own. And if you've seen my calls online and and the pictures, and I try my best. Everything on them is my design. I have refined it and went through and looked at everybody's stuff to make sure I did not copy nobody. And tried to make it my own, the way I stand out.
And dude, there's so many call makers out there and so many guys in their garages or basements or shops turning them. There's not but so much you can do to a box call or to a pot call to make it a hollerback call.
Yep.
So it doesn't look like another brand. It's just, a box call is a box call.
Yeah, those are generic. It's kind of hard to change anything on those, but like pot calls and the grunt calls and stuff like that, there's so much that you can do, and you just got to be artsy.
When you're turning, you put a few more little designs in it, if you will.
Yeah.
That's what makes your trumpet calls look so good, and also the brass. What's that thing called? It's leaving me.
The mouthpiece.
Yes, thank you. Oh, well, I couldn't think of that word.
Right.
The brass mouthpiece. You don't see that very often in a trumpet call. Not at all.
No. And I just started making those probably about a month ago.
And why do you like the brass?
Gives it a different zing to it. So it has just a little bit of a difference in the sound.
Okay.
From the Delrin. The Delrin, it's got a good sound, but I like the brass over that. But that's like, heck, I wouldn't have been making those a month ago, and I've had people asking me for those too, and I had two guys show me how to do that and kind of gave me ideas, and they said, take this, see what you can come up with. And one was Randy Wilson, the other one was Thomas Howard, and I kind of took all their ideas and put them into one, and then I changed a lot of it in the center to make it my own. And I said, well, I got to go through and look at everybody else's designs because I don't know what they're supposed to look like. I've never turned them or used them and then I tried to come up with something that was different from that too. It's hard to do.
It is, but it also speaks to the camaraderie of the call makers. Mm-hmm. How you all, and I see it a lot in the media world too, of the outdoor media. We're all competing for the same audience, but yet we're willing to share our knowledge and experience with other people coming along because we know we're not going to be able to do this forever. We want somebody else to carry the torch.
Definitely, definitely.
So you're talking to other call makers who are trying to sell their calls to the same person you're trying to sell your calls to, and yet they're giving you advice.
Yeah, and not trade secrets, but just kind of breadcrumbs along the way, and try this out and figure this and see if this works. And I think this is better, but you can try this. And
it'd be very easy for them to say, though, this is how I make my living, dude. I'm not going to share that.
Definitely.
Which I have had one outdoor writer in my 27-year career say that to me. And I was like, okay, cool. I can respect that. I think you're a jerk, but I can respect that.
Right.
And I was just coming along at the time too, just trying to get started, just asking generic questions. But anyway, so how did you go from turning these in your shop at home into now in 42 states?
Well, it started out, I guess, word of mouth, because that's how the whole business really took off, from a hobby to, starting going legit. And then the full time was word of mouth is what started it all. One guy, a buddy of mine, said, "Man, I like it." I was at his wood shop. Guy was there and said, "Hey, I want one of those. How much you charge me?" I said, "I don't know. It's just the fun. That's all I like to do for it." He said, "Well, bring me one." And he said, "And I'll pay you for it." And from that, it started, and it just started spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. And I said, "Well, maybe I can go do a trade show." Well, first trade show I do, I jump in the vehicle, me and Dad, and we head to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Very first one. So that's 10 hours away.
Yeah.
Jump head first into it, see what happens. And then that one show led to more, products being up there. And then it's just been Facebook, social media aspects, that's networking that way. And like the big shows, that has helped out a lot as well. Website sales, I built my own website and I done all that. And that's been up 3 years now, I think. And that has increased a lot of reach in other states that I wouldn't have got from any other way. So,
Okay. Well, I noticed as I'm going through all your calls here on the other monitors, for those of you watching, that's why I'm looking over here, is another monitor with the website on it, is there's one turkey call that's missing in your arsenal, and that's a tube call. I see you don't have that, which again, I'm one of the guys who uses something different. Now he's fixing this great reveal, ladies and gentlemen, here on the podcast, as he showed us tube call. I mean, his tube call. Yeah, not trumpet. Love the tube call. If you want to reach out there and call them in the next county, then you get that tube call, because it is a loud call. You can also whisper on it with a lot of practice. Again, I love the tube call. I love the trumpet. I'm going to give a trade secret here. We talked about this before we started recording, Blake, and that is the reason I love them, because turkeys don't normally hear them. It's a new sound to them. They've heard every pot call that's ever been made, whether it's aluminum or copper or glass or slate or Kentucky church or whatever the surface is. They've heard it. They've heard every box call: cedar, chestnut, mahogany, combinations of those, purple heart. They've heard all those. They don't hear very many trumpets. They don't hear very many tube calls. And that's why I like them. I can usually get a stubborn bird to respond if I just use one of those. They also take a lot of practice.
That they do. That's like these, we're still working on them. So most of the time it takes me like a year to release anything. The trumpets, it didn't take that long, because those were figured out pretty fast. And I had a couple other guys test them out, and they said, yes, definitely. So I went ahead and released them. But most of the calls that I have, it takes about a year, and I got beta testers that I'll put them in their hands. They run them, like the grunt calls, bleats, stuff like that we're working on and behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. Surprise. So we're going to be releasing that for too long. They run them as hard as they possibly can. When they get them, I say, try to break them. Try your best to break them.
Yeah.
And,
well, one thing about the tube call is the latex is so important. as to the thickness of it, where you place it on the call. Like some people want to do a half over, some 3/4, some 1/4. So that's a user adjustment.
Yeah, and the stretch.
The manufacturer can't dictate that. And
Right.
and again, how tight you stretch it before you put the O-ring on it.
Mm-hmm.
And every one I have, I replace the latex preseason, mid-season, and so forth. And even during the season, if I'm not getting the right response, I'll adjust it on the fly, make it a little bit different sound. I like the gray latex. That's the one I prefer, because I use it mostly as a locator, and it's louder. Yeah. If I need to whisper on it, I'll switch over to the green thin latex, and I can call softer. I'm giving out way too many secrets here.
Yeah, you're giving out way more than I am.
Way too many secrets. I'm going to edit. We're fortunate here at Christian Outdoors to have quality companies supporting our mission. And Mueller Optics is a perfect example of this. Since 2007, Mueller Optics has had one mission: to bring the passion of hunting and shooting to everyone. Mueller Optics' aim is to offer top-tier rifle scopes that won't break your budget, making quality optics more attainable for enthusiasts like us. Now, I started using Mueller Optics scopes last season. Not only was I impressed with the cost of these scopes, but the quality of the glass and the ease of operation was as good or better than other brands costing 3, 4, 5 times as much as the Mueller Optics scopes do. Whether you're building the rifle for the hunt of a lifetime, an ultimate whitetail setup, or trying to make your 22 perfect for small game hunting and plinking, Mueller Optics has a scope for you that will outperform any other scope in its price point. And to further help Christian Outdoors, if you use promo code COP for Christian Outdoor Podcast, COP35 at checkout, you will save 35% on your purchase. Just go to MuellerOptics.com to find out more. All right, Blake, thank you for that. So back to, you started making these calls on your own, took a lot of learning. And did you start with the box call?
I did.
When did you decide you're going to start selling calls, and what did you first offer?
Well, 2016 is when I started on the box calls. It was just more of a hobby. Here you go. And then somebody give me a little money for it here and there and things. And it was just something to relieve stress pretty much from work, because I could just get down there and tear crap up and, Yeah. But I guess I really started trying to sell a few here and there in 2017. But 2018 is when it really kicked in, and I said, I'm going to go legit. And I started out, I got my name trademarked, my logo trademarked. I went through all the right proper channels. And I wanted to make sure I was doing everything correctly. Yeah. And that way nobody could come in and take my stuff and my business and my name and everything else. From that point, that's when the pot calls came onto the scene with the box calls, selling them. And the pot calls kind of took over, and I quit making box calls for 6 years. So, yeah, I kind of took a sabbatical from all that. But then I had people wanting grunt calls, so we started with grunt calls. I had to learn those and just add those in the line. It's like I was adding about 2 calls every year. Okay. And then this past year, we've added in, I think, 3 or 4 this year. But I'm at my capacity.
I was going to say, you're working yourself to death by adding more calls in here.
Yeah, I'm everything that I've got in the works is probably going to be on hold for a good while. I gotta slow down a little bit.
Right. Right. So your pot calls, what kind of surfaces do you put on
them? I use black slate, green slate, purple slate. I don't like red slate, but I will use it if somebody asks me to. Glass, crystal, ceramic, green aluminum, red aluminum, black aluminum, blasted aluminum, brass. I don't like brass. I don't like copper, but I use them if somebody asks. And titanium's my favorite. And then I haven't had nobody ask me for any type of rock or stone or anything like that yet. But
dang,
if it's out there, we'll put it in it and we'll try it and we'll figure it out and then we'll go with it.
that's a lot.
It is. It is.
When
You've
you
got to
start
have
talking
connections
about
for
going
everything.
to a trade show and you got to have 15 of each of those, 20, 25, because you don't know how many you're going to sell out. Then everybody comes asking for the titanium and you sold out of that 2 days ago. And now all you have left is black slate.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I mean,
I only make 20 titaniums a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those are a limited run every year. I only make 20. I usually put them in the most expensive woods that I got, and they'll sing. I love a titanium.
I don't know that I've ever heard of titanium.
Well, if I didn't have to dig through all my boxes and find them after coming back from a show, I'd get it.
You'd run one for me, huh? Run
Yeah.
one. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever heard that. I mean, I use your standard aluminum. Crystal's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, slate. And I've had this same slate call I've been using since the early 90s. And it was handmade by a friend. I have no idea what kind of slate's in it, but it sure does sound good. It's killed a lot of turkeys. It's killed a lot of turkeys. That's a lot of different tops. And so if you're running a titanium pot call, for those listeners who may be novice to turkey hunting, the type striker you use on the surface can greatly change how it sounds.
Yes, it
will. You match those in the kit. This is the best striker for this call when you buy it, or do you only sell the call and sell the striker separate?
Every call comes with a striker of what I think sounds the best. So if it's an online sale or something like that, preferably not all the time, but I always want people to put like their cell phone number in it so I can text them and I can send them video sound files over the call.
Oh, wow.
And I can say, well, this is my favorite, but you let me know if that's not what you're looking for. And then I'll go through and find another striker to change the pitches and tones in it and usually send it right back to them. And they say, yeah, that's good. Ship it out. And then if I'm at a show, every call that's up there, you take it out. If you like that one, you run through every single striker that I offer and find which one best suits how you play, how you hold it, and what sound you're looking for. So it's my sound turkey is not your sound of a turkey.
Right. Right. That's good. That's well stated. I got to ask this because this is something that I see at every show I go to when people are running calls. What's with the facial expressions people make and the body thing they do when they're running calls? What's up with all that?
When they're doing this?
Or they got it, or they're like
way out here and all. I don't know. I
mean, they make these weird facial expressions and body contortions when they're running a call. I'm like, what is going on with that?
I have no idea. You can't do that sitting there calling a turkey. They'll see you.
That's what I'm saying. What is up with this? I watch these reels of people calling turkeys, and I get tickled at the or they'll put their hand on their ear and they're like and doing all this, and they won't. You don't do that if you're trying to kill a turkey.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, heck no, you try to just sit there and
you don't move. Yeah. A lot of times I'll have the pot call on the ground beside me if I know the turkey's coming. And if I can just take my right hand, I can just purr on it real quick and ease my hand up to the gun, I mean, hunting a turkey and calling a turkey are two different things.
Definitely.
It takes a lot more woodsmanship than it does call ability to kill a turkey.
That's like here. It's ridiculously hard because my turkeys have heard calls 365 days of the year and every call that I make. So if I can kill a bird here, I am tickled pink because it is ridiculously hard. They're educated, very educated.
Yes, they are. Yes. Well, this is awesome, man. Great. It's always fascinating to me how people get into trying to fool wild animals with sounds. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of different call makers on the show who make turkey is my passion. So I get a lot of turkey caller makers on the show because I just love the whole turkey game. But Hello, everyone. This portion of the show is being brought to you by High Mountain Seasonings. With the fall hunting season starting, one of my favorite ways to use my game meat is making jerky. And as long as I've been making jerky, I've found that the kits from High Mountain Seasoning are the easiest, best tasting, and complete sets on the market today. With 7 different flavors to choose from, the jerky kits from High Mountain Seasoning are your go-to choice for game meat jerky. And you can find out more at highmtnjerky.com. All right, Blake, or Balake, as some people say. I'm sure you've heard that a time or two. Thanks to that meme that people have on social media. It's still funny every time you hear it.
Yeah.
So there's more to you than that, and that is one of the things that we've talked about in the introduction is your faith and how important your faith is in everything that you do. So let's talk about that. Because we are Christian Outdoors, and that's really the focus of what we're about, is sharing our faith with people who love the outdoors like we do. So I want to start with a standard question I ask a lot of guests: is did you grow up going to church or in a Christian home, or how did it come about?
I did. My papa is a preacher, and so I was there all the time. Yeah,
kicking and screaming if necessary.
Yeah,
but you were there. Yeah,
I was there. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, explain how all that went and led up into your relationship with Christ and how that affects you today.
Okay. Well, this is the first podcast I've ever said any of this on. So it will be kind of for everybody, and it might relate to a lot of things that people's going through.
Awesome.
So I came from a broken marriage. My mom left when I was very small, like 5, 6 years old. Drugs, partying, stuff like that. Rather do her own thing. Dad had to work all the time, which Dad's always been there. I mean, best friend. Grandparents raised me, always going to church. Got saved at 7 years old, February 7th, 1998, Spears Ferry Church, after church. So felt like you're scared to death, your heart beating out of your chest, everything, conviction falls upon you. Then as you get older, you know best, your teenage years, I started straying and hanging out with the wrong crowd and got into drinking and partying, and which I was not, in everybody's eyes, I wouldn't do that because I had like the most perfect cover, I guess you could say. I was a preacher's grandson, and I was an upstanding young man and whatever. Right. Yeah, that was all kind of a masquerade right there. Mm-hmm. Doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. Chasing a lot of the fleshly things, lust and all that, and ended up straying away pretty far, but I was still at church every single day because that's, I was playing church. That's where I was supposed to be at. So that's where I had to go. Ended up eventually getting everything how I was supposed to be back about time I turned 1920, because I got hurt when I was 19 and it really messed me up. I hurt my back real bad. And legs was kind of sort of numb. It was very hard to do anything. I really hurt myself, and that kind of knocked me down a few pegs and made me realize that I'm not 9 foot tall and bulletproof.
Right.
Got real right back, into church, real hot and heavy. Doing what I needed to do. I met my wife whenever I guess I was 24 then, 23, 24, somewhere in there.
Did you meet her at church? Did you meet her at church? Okay.
I was playing in a bluegrass gospel band. I played the mandolin, and she was sitting on the front pew. Prettiest girl I saw in the whole place. It was just one of them. I hadn't had a girlfriend or been on a date in 2 years because I didn't want the temptations of anything, and I kind of stayed away because I knew what my kryptonite was and what I needed not to be around.
Right.
And one thing led to another. Me and her, we met at church. Everything just fell into place. Day one, I knew it was her. That's the one I was going to marry. 8 months later, we was married. We've been together 11 years this year. So
when you met her till you married her was 8 months.
yeah.
Well, there's no sense in dragging this out here, little lady. We're going straight to the altar.
When you know. So
well, it's a good thing she knew about it too. I mean,
yeah, definitely. And
most women take a year just to plan their wedding.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how much time. I have a bunch of daughters, so I know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
how long they take to plan their wedding. I'm like, gosh, it's going to last 7 minutes.
Yeah, I've got one. Hopefully, it'll be later down the road, and she'll be 35 or something when she decides.
Right. Well, I've sidebar. Here's a sidebar to the listeners. If there's any ladies out there planning their wedding, let me just offer this as a dad with a bunch of daughters: is spend more time planning your marriage, and less time planning your wedding, because your marriage will last. The wedding is only 7 to 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's my sidebar. All right, go ahead.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
But then we was married quite a few, probably like 5 years, something like that. My job that I had at the time, I absolutely hated, despised it. I was miserable.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Stressed, couldn't take it. I ended up picking up a bottle again, and I got to the point where I was an alcoholic. You had, let's see, quarter to a half a bottle of whiskey every night on top of 5 beers after that, and go to bed, get up, go to work, and do that. And I done that for like 4 years.
Good gosh.
Yeah. And it was one of them, as hard as I could go, it was going down just so I could tolerate where I was at and what I was doing. And I was praying for something. I said, Lord, I need something. Get me out of this, a better job, that's less pay, closer home, less hours, whatever, just different atmosphere than what I'm used to. I said, I need something. Well, boom, 9 years, that was about the 9-year mark. Me and my wife was married and found out we was going to have my daughter. And that was a godsend right there, because I started tapering everything from that point on. And then when my wife turned 7 months pregnant, I put down the bottle of whiskey and bourbon, and I haven't touched it since. And my daughter's 2.5 years old now.
Praise God for that.
But I was still at my job that I despised and hated. So I was still praying that, Lord, send me, just a better job that's closer home, that's just going to put me where I need to be. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I don't care about the money. I don't care about any of that, because money ain't everything. And I learned that from a life lesson while I was there. And I had a tree break free while we was cutting trees after a storm, and it took my leg out. So I busted up my leg, tore up my calf, and got put in a boot, lost my job, and the hobby became a full-time job, making calls. So that was my full transition into that, and where it led from how my faith has went, from where I started when I got saved to now. My daughter has kind of made me look at everything a lot different, because I can't do one thing and tell her another and be hypocritical. I need to not be a listener, but a doer. So that way I can lead by example and show her, and not just say, hey, you need to be doing this, and then me go over here and I'll do the exact thing that I told her that, opposite that I told her she didn't need to be doing. So my daughter was a godsend, and a tree breaking free was a godsend that led into my job now. And we stayed in church, got new church, new family. I feel at home. That's the first church I've ever joined. I feel right at home. Every time the doors are open, I'm there. We got something going on, I want to be there. That's like this show. Last show I was at, I hated not being at church. So I had my Bible, just sit there. I just read on Sunday. And it was just like, I just don't want to be here. I don't have no inkling to even want to be at shows like that anymore. So.
Right. But it's such a critical part of your business too, though.
It is. But that's like it doesn't matter how far you think you are or how far you have gone down the rabbit hole into the black. There's still that little inkling of a light standing there, and he ain't left. We left and turned. So he's there just waiting on you to call him the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And that's true. There's an old gospel song. The name of it, it escapes me here, Blake, but one of the lyrics is, if you wonder what's happened, it's you that moved. God never moved. God's always right there. The Bible tells us that no one comes to him unless he calls, and he calls every one of us. Only some of us respond. And so just listen. God wants that relationship with you. Jesus wants that relationship with you. And he's very patient. Very patient.
And I've heard a lot of people say, well, I gotta get this cleaned up in my life first. You don't do the cleaning. God does the cleaning. Okay. Come as you are is what it says.
That's right.
And he will do the cleaning from that point on. And he's still working on me daily. Yes, I still have my temptations. I still screw up. You've got to take up your cross daily. It ain't just, well, I got it. I'm good. Poof, we're gone. No, you got to put on that full armor of God. You got to be fighting your temptations and everything that is your stumbling blocks.
Absolutely. And it's, as someone told me recently on one of the episodes that I did, it's the continual forgiveness of God that is the grace. God doesn't just forgive us once, because we're going to continue to screw up.
Definitely.
Paul says that in Romans over and over. The things I want to do, I don't find myself able to do them. It's the things that I don't want to do that's easy, right? Yeah. But it's that continual forgiveness of God as we continue to go to him and say, God, I blew it today. Please forgive me again. And he does.
Yeah.
I think, Blake, what's hard for most men, particularly, I'm not saying women don't struggle with this, but I'm not a woman, so I can't relate to that, right, is we find it more difficult to forgive ourselves and to accept God's forgiveness than we do to ask for God's forgiveness.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't deserve to be forgiven.
No, I deserve, that little spot reserved in hell is what that's how I feel. And then you're always constantly beating yourself up. Every time you screw up, you say, you're stupid. You knew better. And then it's like, that will haunt you. And, I know for me, everything haunts me from day one. Like, the things that I did, even when I was in school, the alcohol, all this, I've got to, it's hard to turn that switch off. And it's always there. I can't remember nothing. You can ask my wife. I forget what she says from walking one room to the next, but I never forget that stuff. And that's just like it's there drumming and beating into you the whole time.
Well, and I see that as the enemy trying to tell you that God really doesn't love you. God really doesn't want you. God, because look what you did. Look what you did. Look what a failure you are. Look what all this negativity that the enemy is dumping on us to say, you don't belong in a relationship with Jesus because of you did this 10 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever it was, 2 years ago.
Right. And that's why I don't belong. Mercy, it takes care of all that. His mercy.
Right. That's exactly right. And so the grace of God and the goodness of God is, as you just said, is that his mercy is sufficient. As what Paul says it is, that his grace is sufficient for all things. And what is grace? It's that undeserved, unmerited love of God for his children. Right? Remember the first part, undeserved. None of us deserve it.
Right.
But God still gives it to us. And it's up to us to embrace it. And to, if forgiving yourself is a process, not an event, then you're not going to get there unless you start the process. And you can start it by accepting God's forgiveness for you, and then start working on how you can forgive yourself. And one of the ways we do that as men is to not repeat those mistakes. And we say, look, I can overcome this. Every time you don't take a drink, every time you don't fall to the temptation of lust, every time, whatever your vice is, whatever your stumbling block is, listener, every time you don't do that, that's a step in the right direction. Okay. And celebrate that.
Yeah, celebrate it. But and that's me. Here I am, going on 3 years without whiskey and bourbon. I still crave it every day.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee that it's going to be took away. That's kind of my reminder, I guess, and I look at my daughter, and that kind of reminds me as well. So, I mean, I still crave it every single day. If I picked up a bottle today, it would be over. Yeah. And I know that. So, but I made a promise to my daughter also while she was unborn, and I've stuck with it.
Well, praise God for that and for your strength and for his helping you to be able to do that.
Definitely his help. No, it ain't just me. That's for sure.
Well, Blake, thank you for sharing that. You said it's the first time you've been able to share this before. So thank you for sharing that. It's stories like that, just from regular people who have had struggles that our listeners love, because they're regular people. They're regular Joes and Janes out there who's struggling with life, who's facing difficulties. We've all, I'll say all, careful. Many of us have had jobs that we've hated. Like, you just dread getting up in the morning. You dread to drive over there. You dread every hour that you're there. And you come home and you just have nothing to give your family because you took everything out of you to be at work. And many of us have had jobs like that. Lord knows I've had jobs like that. But we do what we have to do as men to take care of our family. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, we got to find something that brings us joy and fulfillment, because it doesn't matter how much money you make or how good the benefits are. If you're a miserable husband and father because of it, then you need to reevaluate it and see if you can find something else that fulfills you in a way that when you come home, you're the best you can be.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
Blake, tell the people how they can find your products and where you're going to be at your next show so they can run into you and shake your hand and say thank you for making the best calls out there.
You can find my stuff on my website at hollerbackgamecalls.com, and it's HALLER. So what came from that is I'll just a little tidbit, like you done earlier. My English teacher, she told me that's not how you spell holler. And I told her, well, that's not how it's, I sounded it out and that's how it sounds. She said, you won't never be able to make anything from that. Here I am now. So, misspell holler, and that's my business. So, but it's you look me up on my website, and it also has all my contact information on there, where I'm going to be at different shows. If there's things you don't see anything on there that you like, you can always just reach out to me. I can custom build exactly what you want.
Okay.
Then Instagram, Facebook.
All under Hollerback Game Calls. And I'll put those links in the show notes for the listeners out there.
And the next show for me is, I think, the last of September at the World Chicken Festival in London, Kentucky.
What is the world? I saw that. I got to ask, what in the world is a World Chicken Festival?
Well, you got KFC. That is the origins of where it started. And it is a very big show. I've been trying to get in that show for 2 years.
And you gotta take a chicken call. You gotta make a chicken call.
I need to make something like that.
It'll crow like a rooster or cluck like a chicken. You got to do that, or learn how to do it on one of your other calls.
Right. Definitely. I got one more thing I always like to leave. If
Absolutely.
That's okay. Absolutely. So, at the very first of the intro, we talked about a group that is very near and dear to me, is the Courageous Outdoor Kids. I like to tell about that.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's a group that is a 501(c)(3). Everything is 100% donated, volunteers, money, food, time, everything. The kids that we take into the outdoors, like I guide for them in the spring. I got the opportunity to guide this year for the first time in the spring, and I will never not go back. It's touches you really, really good. It broke me down and built me up all at the same time, and I cried all the way back from Georgia after it. But we take kids with life-altering illnesses into the outdoors, so it doesn't matter if it's like cancer, wheelchair-bound, you've got arthritis, they've got, whatever it is. Get them out, and everything is paid for, from lodging, food, their tags, all that stuff, not just for them, but for their family too. So everything. So the family can come and not worry about a thing. They just hang out with your like-minded people, things like that. That's, you may not be going through the same thing, but you're going through a trial in a certain situation that you can kind of relate with somebody else. It's a Christian ministry as well, and that's what I really like about it. And I've actually got 2 kids that I taught through there. I met to make turkey calls.
Cool.
They're like my apprentices. And they're doing very well. One of them is he's about ready to catch me on numbers of turkey calls.
Oh, wow.
He hammers them out, but they sound really good.
What's the name of the organization again?
Courageous Outdoor Kids with a K.
Okay.
And on my website, you'll see a little section on a drop-down menu up there that says Courageous Outdoor Kids.
KOK Kids Group, yeah.
Yeah, and that gives information about it. That also gives a way you can go onto their website if you would like to, get in on that, volunteer, whatever. It's got all the contacts you need to get on there and do that with.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
That's my group that I love. So,
okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Lawson here of Hollerback Game Calls. Thank you for joining me here on Christian Outdoors Podcast, buddy.
It's been a pleasure.